thought it'd be a good idea to explain in a little more detail exactly what the Magic Inch and Paparate system is that is patented to the Carey pipes. This is a system that has been around since 1948, and it was designed to ensure a cool, dry smoke without detracting from the full flavour of the choice of tobaccos. Some filtration systems over the years have been accused of drawing out some of the flavour. I know some of the clay kind of philtpad type filtration systems have been accused of that. Certainly 9mm, the charcoal filters, there's a belief that you lose some of the flavour. And one of the great things about this system is that it's really not interfering with the smoke. What it's really doing is simply cooling it, and that leads to evaporation and in turn gives you a drier smoke as well. So I'll just explain a little bit how it works. First of all, these are the Paparate filters. So these are currently £1 for a dozen. We have heard of people using straws or just bits of tape or things like this, and I would urge anybody, and I've mentioned this a few times to where I've seen maybe YouTube videos or reviews or so on. You know, this is a system that was designed as a complete system, and when you start doing other things, particularly if people don't persevere, some people have criticised it for allowing too much air through and so on. That's like just giving up a pipe because you can't make it work the first time. It's one of those things, like anything, it takes practice, it takes trial and error, and if you're interested in this kind of smoke that's not really interfering, but at the same time it is taking out some of the tar and certainly some of the moisture, then I'd urge you to give this a go. As I say, it's been around now for well, 65 years, so we're obviously doing something right. When you get your pipe, a Magic Inch pipe, it consists of, this is a 10-minute Magic Inch, so it's our smallest pipe, and what you'll get is good quality briar. We do a number of different ranges, both rusticated, sandblasted, smooth, etc., etc. As I've said in videos in the past, we only use good quality briar. This is Mediterranean briar, properly matured, as opposed to much cheaper pipes that will not always even be briar, but certainly won't be matured and so on. And the issue you get with that is that you're more likely to get burn throughs, and the briar won't be as hardy. So you're getting a good quality briar bowl. Like I say, this is one of our small ones. Then into the bowl goes this airtight tenon, and basically that is so that any draw completely comes through this part. You're not getting any escape. It's key that there's a good seal here. This is the Paparate. So like I say, it looks like a simple piece of paper, and it is the Magic Inch, so named because it is an inch long. But amazingly, there are only 2 places in the world that actually make these, so they are quite difficult to replicate. That just slides on. It should be a snug fit, so there's almost a little bit of resistance as you push it on. What that does is it closes off. There's holes through there, so this slides over the top of those, and what that then does is this is a slightly porous piece of paper, so when I breathe through here, if I closed off this entirely, I would still get a little bit of draw. And what it's doing is it's drawing outside air through this paper filter and then out of here. On top of that, the nylon mouthpiece is placed, and on that mouthpiece, as you can see, and the reason we make them out of nylon rather than acrylic is acrylic would be inclined to split, but is these 3 vents. And by popping that over there and making sure that there's a good seal here, what in effect happens is when you, as long as it's packed correctly, and I'll get to that in a moment, when you draw through the mouthpiece, you will get the majority of air going down through the bowl, through your tobacco, in the usual way, drawing the smoke and the flavour through into your mouth. What's slightly different, or very different rather, about our system is that, as I said before, the porous nature of the paperate means that you'll also be drawing outside air in through these slats. So you'll get a combination of the hot smoke coming through here and the cooler outside air coming through these vents and being basically cooling that whole tenon and paperate section. And what happens there is that it causes condensation of the of any moisture that's in the smoke. And so what you get is it removes that moisture. It also cools the smoke. So by the time it gets to your mouth and into your mouth, you're getting cooler smoke, but still with all of the flavour. And at the same time, it's drawing out with that moisture. Also comes out some of the tar. So over time, these paperates will go brown. And when it's brown and wet, which could be it could be one smoke if it's a large bowl and you're smoking it for for hours on end. Really, it's probably more likely to be 2, 3, 4 smokes before it'll be effectively fully used up, and there won't be any more capacity in it to absorb moisture and tar. And at that point, simply discard that. Next one goes on, and you will see from the use of those paperates just how much moisture it does draw out of the smoke. And so what has the comments over the last 60 years, the main comments that come up: no bite, no burn, and no bitterness. The cooler smoke means you don't get as much tongue bite. The lack of moisture and some of the tars and so on, which would otherwise potentially be condensing in your mouth, are already being condensed out by the filter, hence the lack of bitterness. And so people really do swear by this. It's one of those things. Filter systems are often disregarded before they're even tried, and this has been a highly successful system that continues to work today, and people who are converts to it swear by it. So just to summarise, fresh air enters through the vents and mixes with the smoke from the bowl, and that cools and condenses it. The condensation means that excess moisture is squeezed from the smoke and absorbed by that paperate sleeve. And then the moisture from the sleeve actually evaporates into the outside air, so you're getting a cool, fresh and dry smoke. So that's really the paperate system, Magic Inch, in a nutshell. Like I say, it's slightly dismaying. Sometimes we hear of people and they pick one of these up out of an estate sale or that it's been passed down. They don't know that you need these filters, or frankly, in some cases, people don't want to spend £1 for 12. But that's like buying a car and then not being prepared to put petrol in it. If you want a system that works, you need to be committing to it. And then if you try and smoke one of these without that filter, then as you can imagine, all you're getting is, you know, that the air is going to be drawn through the slats instead of through the bowl and so on. Which brings me on very quickly to the packing of the actual pipe. One thing I always say to people who are trying out the Magic Inch for the first time, like when you started smoking a pipe for the first time, it's trial and error. And what will happen, it's slightly counterintuitive in the sense that if you pack the bowl too tightly, what will happen is it'll actually feel like you haven't packed it tightly enough. And that sounds strange, but the reason being, if you pack that too tightly, you then draw through the mouthpiece. What happens is you get the air coming in through the path of least resistance. So you'll get very little air coming down through the bowl because it's blocked, and all the air will come through here. And so what happens is people get on this this slippery slope where they'll say to me, okay, I packed it, I was getting fresh air, so I packed it tighter, fresh air, so I packed it tighter, and in the end they end up with a jammed bowl and they're still getting lots of air through, and it's because it's coming through these slats. So you've really got to trial and error. It will be different from other systems in the same way as a 9mm creates more resistance than an unfiltered pipe and so on. But I would urge you just to give it a try. Try different amounts of tobacco and different densities of packing, and yeah, I can guarantee you will be rewarded with a great smoke.